Hello there. I'm gonna put a filter on myself because you know what? I can. That might be too much. That might be too much. Do we have anything subtle? Subtle. Miss. Oh, very Aquarius. That's too much. mm, this is nice. Okay. Subtle, subtle, right, right, right. Okay. Hi, everyone who is watching this on a playback or who is signing in and joining me live. I wish maybe that I would have kind of set a date and had this to premiere so more people could probably catch this live stream. I'm sure it will be a little long, so there will be people that will come and go. I did just put up on my Instagram story that I'm going live. I just felt like if I didn't do this live stream now, that it might not happen. And this is really important information that I would really like to have on my channel somewhere for people to access. So, hi Pixie, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you will find this interesting. If you are new to my channel, if you're watching the playback of this while we wait for some people to enter, I'll probably say this a few times. I'm Sammy, and I would love if you were to subscribe to my channel. I put out content dealing with anything spiritual, mostly astrology and tarot related, magical practices as well. Like color magic is a big focus here on my channel. So if you are not subscribed, I would love for you to join me. I have a lot of juicy content and new things coming for the end of this year and all through 2021 that I'm very excited about. So I would love if you would join me. Make sure you give this a thumbs up. All of the YouTube things, it really does help me and my channel. So thank you so much if you're already subscribed or if you are now a new subscriber. So we are going to be talking about, oh my God. Pixie says, I am an Aquarius sun, moon, and Venus. Nice to meet you. So nice to meet you. I'm really glad that you're here. You have a big year coming up as well as, or 2.5 years. I'm excited to watch while I'm working. Hi, Spooky Sarah Beth. Hey, Lisa. What's up, sis? Um, so yeah, I will be, I love to address the comments and talk through and everything. This live stream might be a little less engaging um, while I'm going on my astrology rant here, but I will try and go back and look at comments, or there will be like pauses where I'll ask if you guys have questions and you can ask them then. So if I miss something or if you're really wanting me to answer something or address something and I'm kind of going on about a certain topic, just make sure you put it in bold or save it for when I give you an opportunity to ask me questions or if I'm going back and looking at comments. But normally through my live streams, I'm pretty engaged with the comments the entire time, and that might be a little different today. So I would, one last like helping me plug and share this would be really, really helpful. So if you know someone that's into astrology, that's trying to learn, or that might even be pretty advanced, and you think that this is a conversation or topic, you can either share this live stream right now or share it when it's over. Really, really helps my channel and me grow. So I would love that if you enjoy it or if you think someone else would enjoy it. So, what are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today? I obviously can't be going over everything that I would like to, which is a big portion of the reason why I am hesitant about putting astrology content on my channel a lot of the times, because I feel like if I can't share it all and share it perfectly, then I don't want to do it at all. And I'm stopping that. So, we're going to be talking about multiple things. The biggest is going to be this great conjunction that is happening in mid December, and it's going to be between Saturn and Jupiter. They're moving into the sign of Aquarius and stationing there permanently. So, we're going to be talking about that, what that means. We'll be talking about Aquarius in general. We're going to be talking about the history of Saturn and Aquarius. I always find one of the most fascinating and important parts of learning astrology or talking astrology, and even just kind of predicting, not even predicting, but kind of like taking a look at the energies that will possibly come to fruition, is by looking at the patterns in history. So we will be doing a little bit of that. Will help us set up what we can kind of expect for the next 2.5 years with Saturn and Aquarius, and really the next year with Jupiter there as well. We're going to be talking about the little test run that we had in with Saturn and Aquarius back in March and June, and all of the things that took place. Again, it's a little bit of the history portion that will help us to understand what the next 2.5 years and really year, like I said with Jupiter there, is going to bring. What else are we going to be talking about? I mean, really anything in between concerning Aquarius. We will be talking about, we'll be starting with Saturn in Capricorn. Just recapping, because if you know me, if you listen to the Speaking of Which podcast, or you have been on any of my live streams or videos, I have been talking kind of extensively about the Capricorn placements that we've had for this year, really for the last 2.5 years, or even further than that if you're looking at Pluto. But really this year we went through it with Capricorn placements. I've made 2 videos that were concerning Capricorn topics in the last year, and I will link them down below when this is published. So please check those out if you want a little bit more information. Back in October of last year, I made a video concerning Jupiter meeting Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and I just rewatched that again, and it really was a big push of why I wanted to make this video as well. So that's another resource if you want to take a look. As well as I kind of made a vlog, I think it was, where it was like titled Capricorn placements are going through it. And I talked extensively about that as well. So we won't linger on it, but I am going to recap for anyone who missed it or needs some more information. So that's what's to expect of this live stream. I'm going to take just another second here and say hi to Emily and Awakened Grace. Hi to everyone else who is here and hasn't commented yet. Again, if you haven't given this live stream a thumbs up, please do so, or subscribe if you haven't already. I would love for you to be a part of this family, this channel. So let's talk about Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto really quickly in Capricorn, which they are currently all in, and will be until mid-December when this great conjunction is happening. Pluto will stay in Capricorn until 2024. And we'll be coming back to this reoccurring theme of Pluto still in Capricorn until 2024 as an underlying, let's not forget, we still do have this massive Capricorn deep undertone here, but the energy is certainly going to shift in big ways come mid-December. Let me just take a sip of my drink really quick. Thank you for those of you who gave the video a thumbs up after I said that. There was like 2 of you or 3 of you. Pixie said, I've felt super good lately, feel excited and energized. I feel something huge coming. Absolutely there is. Whenever we have outer planets that transit into new signs, especially when they've been with other major outer planets, it just is like such a huge dose of like awakening or knowledge or spiritual transformation on a global human level. A lot of the inner or personal planets do make big shifts, but they don't tend to be like the outer ones do. That's why they're so important. They move so much slower, so that when they do change signs or aspect each other in big ways, it really lands so much heavier than you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it, so you can feel it. I will say that this great conjunction coming is going to start to take place. You will start to feel even more of that. Huge things are coming, probably in mid-December. So the actual great conjunction happens on December 20th. It's technically going to be December 20th through the 28th, because Jupiter and Saturn will both be 0 degrees Aquarius. They go to like 1 degree. There might be 2 days in between there where like one's at 0 degrees and one's at 1 degree, but it's still from the 20th to the 28th, they are forming this great conjunction. And then they were both stationed in Aquarius. So before I get ahead of myself, let's talk about some of the things that have been happening with the planets Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in Capricorn. Saturn stays in a sign for anywhere from 2.5 to 3 years. So Saturn has been in Capricorn in its own sign. Some would argue as well, Aquarius. I don't work that way. So Saturn in Capricorn is in its true form. It's been in there for 2.5 years. Saturn rules structures, rules, regulations. It happens. I just got a text from my cousin asking me an astrology question. um, Saturn is ruling, or Capricorn is ruling structures, rules, regulations, and anything governmental. It's authoritative, it is mature, it is the parent that comes and tells us to get the work done. Um, for whatever reason, my phone is not wanting to focus on me. So I am just going to let it be. But if that is annoying for you, maybe I'll come back a little bit. Oh, well, that's helpful. Maybe I was too close. Um, I'm sorry if it keeps going in and out of focus. I don't know how to fix that. I think it's been a problem since I've gotten this phone. Just apologies. Um, with Jupiter and me, I'm not going to stay on this for too long. So for people who are like, oh my God, I'm bored already, the videos that I will link down below will go much more in depth on what this was all about these past few years. But Jupiter is going to kind of bring expansion to anything that it's with. Now, that is all well and good if it is our wallets, if it is our house, if that's what we're looking for, if it is our love, our luck, our relationships, our career opportunities. It's wonderful when it is in areas in which we want to have expansion. However, when it is an expansion such as um, unemployment or pandemics or things of that nature, our waistline, if that's what we're like concerned about, um, then it's not so nice to have abundance and luck and opportunities in those areas. So, with any sign, with any planet, even though Jupiter is seen as like freedom and luck and expansion and growth and all these beautiful, wonderful things, however, when it's placed in certain areas, it's not necessarily the best to have more. So, that's something that we've been dealing with when it met the same sign as Pluto and Saturn. And so, those are some of the things that we've been dealing with in the past year with Jupiter, 2.5 years with Saturn, and many years with Pluto. Saturn and Jupiter will be hitting Aquarius, like I said, December 20th. Now, I have been saying all year that you really want to be aware of these huge changes that are going to be occurring. However, a lot of the times with the outer planets, you don't see immediate effects as soon as they hit signs. It's something that takes place, and you might not actually see it play out for a little longer afterwards. And some examples of this would be when Jupiter went into the sign of Capricorn in December of last year. Um, we actually had not known about it, but the pandemic and it conjuncting Pluto and Saturn um, had begun or had taken place, or however you want to say was initiated. I'm like already triggered talking about the pandemic, but it's a big topic of what we've been going through. And it changed everything. It changed everything for everyone all over the world. So when you have these big outer planets that conjunct or that aspect each other, um, that's what we're working with here. But we didn't really know or find out on a global level until months later. And even when we did, it took until March for a lot of the world to really feel its effects, see things, acknowledge it, and to be doing something about it. So that's kind of what I'm feeling is going to happen in December. I do feel there are a few things that are going to kind of change this. And the reason why is because Saturn is also changing signs. So, whereas last December we had Saturn already in Capricorn with Pluto, and then Jupiter was kind of like, hey guys, what's up? I'm here too. I'm going to bring expansion and growth in all the areas that are here right now. And that really caused such a huge ruckus, for lack of better terms. But in this instance, Saturn is also changing signs. So I do think that there's going to be some more immediate effects that it will be felt, if not acknowledged, quicker than it was before. Let me take a second now and see. Emily says, does that mean anything special if Jupiter is in Aquarius in your chart? Yeah, it does. It means that Jupiter will be conjuncting your natal Jupiter in Aquarius for an entire year, um, give or take. And that is really, it is a really important placement. Anybody that has massive Aquarius placements will be, I don't want to say greater, I feel like greater effects. That might not be the right way to explain it. But like as this past year, I've been saying Capricorn placements have been going through it. I don't want to like fear monger anyone that has Aquarius placements because I actually feel like this is going to be um, really beneficial for a lot of people. But yeah, if you have massive Aquarius placements, this is your year to 2.5 years where you're really going to be dealing with a lot of more intense effects than maybe some of the other people who have other major placements. Your Jupiter in Aquarius will also be conjunct with Saturn, so that is something that you'll want to take a look at. But if you would like a personal natal session with me, you can go to my website and we can discuss that. I would love to work with you. It's samanthamenzo.com, and I think I have one available. Maybe I should go and put some more available real quick. I don't know. Message me if you want one, and I'll put it I'll put it available. But I should have did that before this sign. Hi Jessica, how are you? Chaos Tabs. It's my B-Day. Hooray. Hi, Sammy. My name is Jessie. Hi, Jessie. Happy birthday. And thank you for coming to the live stream. If anybody is wanting to subscribe, I'm going to be putting out a lot more astrology content in the next year and moving forward. May sound weird, but I'm excited about it. Pixie, you should be excited about it. It's a wonderful new breath of fresh air energy that not just you, but everyone is going to be experiencing. Okay. So what I want to do right now is because I had to kind of talk about where we were at before I can talk about where we went to. For the past year, really intensely, everyone knows we have been reframing, restructuring, rethinking the rules, the regulations, and how we govern our countries, our lives, our businesses, our interactions with human beings. And that's what Saturn or Capricorn does with these three huge planets that were in the signs of Capricorn this year. It, as everyone knows, has changed everything. There is no going back to the way that things were before. I really wish that my phone would focus, but moving on. I want to talk about um, general Aquarius energy really quickly. And it's so different than Capricorn. Thank fucking God, right? So different than Capricorn. Um, Whereas Capricorn energy wants to regulate, it wants to get serious, it's very slow moving, it's delays, restrictions, it's denying things, it is adulting, it is the rules, the regulations, like I said, it rules the elderly, which is no surprise why the coronavirus was affecting more so elderly age range than anything else. Obviously, we don't need to get into technicalities of that, but there was and is higher risk for people who are of older age because it's Capricorn. It rules the government, all of those things. It wants to keep things serious and practical. It wants to make lists. It's the entrepreneurs. It is all of those things. We're shifting now to Aquarius, and Aquarius is against the grain. It fights the system. It's down with the patriarchy. It is the individuals or individuality. It is unique and shocking. It is the minorities. I'm going to be looking at my notes to make sure I don't forget anything because, like I said, we're going to be covering a lot. So, oh my God, my phone. Black sheep, the black sheep of the family is a very Aquarian kind of esque energy, very rebellious. The innovators, the inventors, the outside the box thinkers, the trend setters. this is all Aquarius energy. Whereas we have just come from, or will be coming out of, Capricorn, which is like, let's all just have uniform colored tees and business casual vibes. Aquarius is like, let's shave our heads, dye our hair blue, get nose piercings, and tattoo our necks. Uh, like, which is a big shift, you know? Um, they are uh, Aquarius, the energy of Aquarius, or even Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius, is all about groups, communities, friends, organizations, rallies, protests, revolutions. It is about fighting for the cause, fighting for the underdog. It is about coming together. Um, and Capricorn does have some of that placements, but it's more so in a like um business setting, right? Only dead fish go with the flow. Absolutely. I would say that Capricorn does also have a little bit of this like against the grain thinking in regards to they're not complacent with being a cog in a machine. They want to be the machine and they want to have cogs in their machine to run and rule and have an empire over. So there is some sort of um, trend setting or leading mindset to Capricorn as well. It's just in a completely different. They want to structure things. They want to frame it. They want to be the one to keep things organized and neat and in place maturely and adultly and politically and financially. And Aquarius is like, yeah, fuck all that. It is one of the signs, if not the lead sign for LGBTQ plus, for people of color, for anyone that is a minority or kind of seen as unique, shocking, or different in any ways. And it is really not non-binary. I even put like aliens. They are seen as like the outsiders, the aliens. We're going to be talking a lot about space, um, just with the up like with history and also with upcoming things to take a look at. But I'll just I just like dropped an alien bomb. It's fine. I put outer space, it's electricity, it's discoveries, anything of that nature. It's unpredictable. It rules in the body, the circulatory system, ankles, and shins. A lot of Aquarian energy is really prone to like ankle sprains, which is a random fact. Okay, so we're going to be now. Does anybody have any questions? I'm kind of really coming at you as like a lecture here, and I hope that you are okay with that because I want to make sure that I'm hitting the topics that I want to hit in this live stream. Hi, Jessica. Okay, so I want to talk about what happened in March to July 1st, really the end of June. Slow motion sweets. Hi, it's good to see you too. My fiance got a promotion today and I just feel a huge shift coming. Congratulations. Incredible. Um, yes, there's huge shifts coming. My biggest thing right now is expect the unexpected. And that is such a huge Aquarian energy. But yeah, so let's talk about what happened. We had what I'm calling is a little test run for some of the energies and places that we're going to be focusing on moving forward. So Saturn moved into Aquarius and then retrograded back, and it's been dealing with Capricorn again, and it will be moving, like I said, in 20th of December forward. But just Saturn alone went into Aquarius March 22nd to July 1st of this year. Now, if you remember everything that happened in that time, it was a big fucking shift for everyone that we were just kind of like, what is happening? So many things happened that no one saw coming, no one expected. Um, and I just made a few notes of some things that happened during that time and that are still happening. Not to say that they're over, but that they really hit its peak of awareness and attention during these few months. Now, we were on lockdown for most of the most of the world. Really, the US caught up to a lot of the things that were happening already around the world. In mid March, I know for myself, I decided to move across country on March 12th, and I was down into my new house, my new job, and I was immediately put on unemployment and um, in lockdown 6 days later after moving, and it was, I don't recommend moving across country during a pandemic if you know it's coming, which I didn't really know. So we had lockdown. We had new school structures that were taking place that were being talked about, and the that was a lot of the effects of the other planets in Capricorn. But we had virtual learning as a topic. What were we going to do for the end of the year? What were we going to do for the next school year coming on? We had working from home. This is technology. This is all Aquarius stuff. And Saturn in Aquarius is ruling how are we going to restructure things. Aquarius brings technology. It really put virtual learning, online focus. There was tons of Zoom meetings. Zoom out of nowhere became this like huge tool, this huge focus, this huge influential thing that everyone was all of a sudden using to connect with loved ones, to do their work, to do their schooling and whatnot, job interviews, whatever you needed to do. It was all online because no one could leave the house. Um, uh, the Black Lives Matter movement gained a ton of attention around the world, more so than it had ever before. We had protests and rallies and riots all over the place. This is Aquarius energy. We will be talking about the history, and it will make sense as well how when Saturn is in Aquarius, it fights for the underdog, it fights for the minorities, it fights for inclusivity and equal rights and justice. And I'm really excited for Saturn and Jupiter to be in Aquarius now, fully stationed in mid-December. It's going to do great things. I'm really excited. I mean, there's also, with every side of the coin, there's also challenges that will present itself, but in this regards, we can expect a ton more progress for minorities and underdogs of any kind. But we had huge focus, power, energy from March to the end of June towards the Black Lives Matter movement. TikTok and Twitter it has been for a long time, but even more so this year, and especially in between March and June, it has become a tool in which people spend most of their time, as well as get a lot of their news sources from. So we really don't have the news as much as we used to. We're looking for these new innovative apps. TikTok has been around for a long time. It was Musical.ly before it was TikTok. However, it has become something of a power mecca during pandemic, and especially between March and June. An example of this, to kind of give you a little bit more weight of how this is not just like an app, is the example of the Trump rally that took place. There was a viral TikTok that had gone around talking about um, how if you go on and you register that you're going to be at Trump's rally, it will kind of give him numbers to show how many people are going to show up at this rally. So just go on and register that you're going to be at the rally, take up all the tickets and seats so that when he shows up, no one is there. And it was a huge thing that went around TikTok. So many people did that. And if you go and you look, he actually showed up and was shocked, and all of his team was shocked that there was nobody there. And the power that you can create and that you can transmit information, because Aquarius is an air sign. It's all about information, it's mental and communication, innovative ways of getting information from point A to point B, or in this case with Aquarius, point like Z. And that's an interesting example of how TikTok and Twitter and things like that have become a huge source of us getting our informations and making waves. Um, Another example of that is, they Trump using Twitter his whole time in, I'm talking a lot about the US because I am in the US. So if you're not in the US, this is still applicable to you, but these specific examples is more United States based. But Trump uses Twitter like it is like a press conference, and a lot of other influential people or political or just who are in the public eye use these social media apps as a way to communicate big, huge things. But we've seen a huge shift uh, really through March and June in the way that we're using these apps to rally, to kind of have people think about things differently, to get our information out. I really put, again, expect the unexpected. There was a law that was passed about LGBTQ work rights, the work protection that happened. I don't have the specific date down, but it did happen between like when Saturn was in Aquarius. Or it was finalized or something when it was in Aquarius. Again, examples of how Saturn rules, laws, structures, regulations put into place for minorities, Aquarius. And then I just put again lockdown, pandemic. This was something that no one had ever experienced before. But the reason why it went so dark and so scary with death and disease is because we had Pluto in Capricorn there as well with those energies. So Pluto is still, like I said, going to remain in Capricorn until 2024, but with these both these planets, Saturn and Jupiter shifting into Aquarius, holy shit, it's going to be so powerful. Hi Samantha, says yes, I made it live. Hi everyone, so happy to see you live, Samantha. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining. So that was some of the things that we dealt with in our test run. We didn't even have Jupiter there. Jupiter was still in Capricorn, so this was just like 3 months. Wait, yeah, March, April, May, June. Okay. 4 months of Saturn in Aquarius from this year, and look what happened. The unemployment rate, it was massive. We had worldwide lockdown. We had um, protests and rallies all over the place. We had um, so much emphasis on the unique and shocking. From a business perspective, there were so many businesses that really had to think outside the box to stay afloat. I know here in the US, we did have government assistance and things, especially for businesses to help them try to stay afloat during the pandemic. But even then, I work for a glass art gallery, and we had to completely reshift and refocus the way that we were branding, the way that we were marketing to clients. A big portion of our sales come from exhibitions that we do around the country where we can meet our clients, meet with the artists, talk about people, show them the work. And so we had to really kind of reframe and restructure the entire way that we thought about our business. So I saw a lot of this effects in my job. We were having a lot of work meetings. We have now since started doing live Zooms every week with our artists and clients so that we can keep relevant, so we can keep connected. I'm really proud of the company that I work for in their initiative to think outside the box to keep the business running, because they knew that they couldn't continue to have the business run the way that it did before. And that's what Aquarius is going to do, is it's going to force you to change up your plan. And if you resist it, you're going to have a bit of challenges here. So, I mean, it helps that both of my bosses, they're stepbrothers and they're both Aquarius. So I think that that kind of came naturally to them, and they really didn't hesitate to start to think about different ways to implement the business. That was from my perspective a really interesting way to interact with the effects that Saturn in Capricorn, I mean, excuse me, Saturn in Aquarius kind of handed us in March to June. So then it went back, and it's been back with Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn since July and moving forward. So that was like the little test run. Does anybody have any thoughts, concerns, questions about what we've talked about so far? Samantha said, it is the year of business continuity and enterprise risk management. Which is what I do. Oh, so you're in a sweet spot, my love. Yeah, that's a really interesting job to have. I'm just gonna take a deep breath because I have been talking about fucking Capricorn for so long. This whole year, anytime I try and bring it up in the podcast, um, I've had to like preface with like, I know we're talking about Capricorn again, I don't know, but it is so huge. Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter all being in Capricorn this year. And for Saturn and Jupiter to be moving into Aquarius in mid December, it's even more mind blowing the shift of focus that we're going to be taking place. So, that little test run, again, I want to remind you, was just Saturn going into Aquarius. So remember, Jupiter brings abundance, expansion, growth. So we're going to be dealing with the same sorts of things that we dealt with in, to some regard, in uh, March through July, the end of June. But now we're going to put a magnifying glass on it. Now we're going to be blowing it up and really kind of expanding all of those things for a whole year. So let's take a look at some of. Let's still stay on just Saturn and Aquarius because Saturn is going to stay in Aquarius when it moves and stations in mid December. It's going to be there for 2.5 to 3 years. It's going to be from 20, what did I put? It enters on the 17th of December, 0 degrees Aquarius, and it doesn't leave until March of 2023. So it will be in Aquarius for 3 years, 2.5 years. That's huge. Everything is going to change. Think outside the box and be kind and try and help others. Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to summarize pretty much everything I'm going to say in this live stream. But yeah, so let's take a look at some of the history because this is where we're going to get a really clear idea of some of the things that are going to present themselves with Saturn and Aquarius. This is not talking about Jupiter. This is not talking about anything. We're just going to talk first of Saturn in Aquarius from the past. So I didn't go all the way in the past, but I went starting from 1903 to 1906. 1903 to 1906, when Saturn was in Aquarius. Obviously, it's Aquarius before that, but this is where I started. It happens every 30 years, again, so give or take 28 to 30 years. So, 1903 to 1906, the Wright brothers powered the first aircraft on December 17th, 1903. That was huge. Okay. I want you to think about the next 2.5 years, and especially the next year, as sit back and think about all of the things that seem utterly ridiculous and impossible for us to achieve, and they will be achieved, or at least begun to figure out how to achieve in the next year to 2.5 years. And these examples will really shock you and will really give you a food for thought at one of the ways. Think about how everything changed once aircraft was not only invented but implemented all over. We do so much and we are able to expand our consciousness once we were able to travel through the air. And remember in the beginning where I talked about things kind of implementing slowly. So in December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers successfully powered the first aircraft. However, it didn't mean that at that date there were airplanes all over the world and we were traveling and doing all of those things. So it does take quite a long effect for things to kind of really set in for long term. But those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at. Thinking outside the box, who would have actually thought that flying would have, before the 1900s, people thinking like, oh my God, how are we like traveling? Could you imagine if we could just like jump on a craft and get somewhere quickly without train or car or, boat or horse? And look what happened because of that. I put, this was interesting to me. Um, Between 1903 and 1906, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but all three no, physics Nobel Peace Prize were around the topic of radioactivity. This is a very Aquarian energy, radioactivity, electricity, um, uh, waves, energy waves, um, inventions, things like that, radioactivity, or I would say things like cell phone towers or the internet, things like that are all very Aquarian um, focused. So obviously we did not have the internet then, but all of the physics Nobel Prizes were dealing with advances or research or things that were implemented of radioactivity. Now let's move 28 to 30 years later when Saturn again was in Aquarius, 1932 to 1935. The Great Depression began in 1929 and unemployment rates had reached 25%. So you have to think in 1929 would have been when Saturn was in Capricorn, which is where it's at right now. Unemployment rates, the Great Depression. I'm loving this format and info. Good, Jessica, because I feel like I'm all over the place, but it's okay. The more I do this, the better it will get. So I'm so glad that you're following and you're interested. So in 1929, the Great Depression and causing skyrocketing unemployment rate. History repeats itself, and the reason why history repeats itself, I believe, is because the planets are repeating their transits. And when Saturn was in Capricorn before it was in Aquarius, it really escalated the Great Depression and all of the things that kind of accumulated with unemployment rates being so crazy. But when it reached Aquarius, 1932 to 1935, FDR New Deal brought Social Security. So again, it's a new way, it's an inventive way, it is a shocking, against the grain, unique way to put rules and structures and regulations in place. And Social Security is one of those things. Government infrastructure, banking regulations. We can expect in the next 2.5 years for a lot of finances to be like regulations around finances. I would say, I don't want to know, I don't know too much about this, but like for instance, the topic around like Bitcoin, I'm sure that there's so many other things that I don't know about, but like money and banking that is online or any sort of financial things pertaining to not like cash or physical banks, things that are done through like the internet, right? Or online will have much more focus. I would say that a lot more regulations and laws will be put into place, but I think also a lot of activities will be like taking place with those things. And taking a look back at 1932 to 1935, banking regulations was a big thing that had happened. Okay, so in 1934, the first flying car was invented and flown. Essentially, this was just another airplane. But if you look up when was the first flying car invented, it comes up for 1934, and that is when Saturn was in Aquarius. Again, essentially, it was just another airplane. But it is very interesting that in 1903 to 1906, the Wright brothers successfully powered their first aircraft, and then 30 years later, when Saturn was back in Aquarius again, we had the first flying car. Again, essentially just another airplane, but just like structured as a car. So that was that. Let's go again and jump one more. Transit ahead to Saturn and Aquarius during 1962 and 1964. This is when the Civil Rights Act was implemented. This is where we see a lot more influences with racial justices being a huge topic and movement. Martin Luther King, they banned segregation. It was a lot of riots and rallies and protests and focus on people of color and their rights and equality and justice for all. A lot of that was starting like the beginning of like the burn the bra movement and things like that, because our mindset, our rules, our regulations were being tested, and everyone was thinking, down with the patriarchy, fuck this, we want inclusivity, and why haven't we had it? So you can see the parallels between when Saturn was in Aquarius in 1962 to 1964 and just this little test run that we had when Saturn went into Aquarius between March and June, and all of the Black Lives Matter movement that had taken place. So you can see that that is what we're going to be dealing with even more so, and fucking good. Thank goddess, right? Right? Um, so we're going to be dealing with that for the next 2.5 years. And I'm going to say really, really, really heavily um, for the next year because Jupiter is going to be there. So it's going to give us a little bit more of like an intensified and big movement. Samantha has a question. Was Jupiter following Saturn during these turn of the century transits like it is now? No. We're just talking about just Saturn and Aquarius. Why? Which is why this is such a big deal that Jupiter is also going to be in this great conjunction with Saturn. Because look at all of the progress, inventions, initiative, um, innovations, and against the grain thinking and movement that we had with just Saturn and Aquarius. We are going to also have Jupiter in Aquarius conjuncted all year. All year. This is huge. Like once every 200 years, I think it is. Oh, God, I didn't write it down. Is when um, Jupiter and Saturn will be conjunct in Aquarius. It is huge. Or not even, wait, I didn't write the right dates down for that, and I can't do that quick like math to think about that. Love this information. I never knew any of this. I only um, know how I have felt and feel now. And Emily's like, shit. I can't stress this enough. You guys, gals, in betweens. When I made my video in October of last year talking about Jupiter meeting Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, I didn't want to scare anybody. I just wanted to kind of give like a general energy, general idea of what it could bring. Again, I will link that. And if you want to watch it again, it's really interesting to go back and to see. I think it's interesting, not as like a validation, like I was right, but more so that's still going to be the same messages. However, we're just shifting the focus from Capricorn to Aquarius. The only difference is that Pluto is going to stay in Capricorn, which thank goddess, because Pluto is still going to be there to help us trudge up the dirt, pull up the roots, give the secrets. That's what's causing the disease. That's what's causing the lies, the frauds, the all of this crap is a lot of Pluto shit. Deep transformation, huge, huge, intense uprooting of the way that we were before with systems. So for it to stay in Capricorn, we're like, okay, you have some more work to do for a few more years. Pluto will be in Capricorn until 2024. But for Saturn and Jupiter to kind of come out of that and be like, Aquarius, like it's huge. It's huge. So it's still going to be interesting to go back and watch that video that I had um, talking about it, because you can still get a lot of value from the messages. Just know that we're shifting into Aquarius. But great question. So this is what I'm telling you about the history of these transits in the past. This is just Saturn and Aquarius. Another thing to think about between 1962 and 1964, when Saturn was in Aquarius, is we had huge focus on space travel. Um, the dates were a little off, like the years were a little off on like when the first person entered space, or when we actually landed on the moon. All these things, like um, I wasn't so concerned after I was looking at all of the advances or like the firsts that we did when it came to space travel and space discovery. However, it was really apparent when you start looking up like major events in between 1962 and 1964 that a huge portion of them were centered around space, and space travel and space discoveries. And we can expect that again. It is going to be a huge, huge year, and 2.5 years for advances in things that are, if not even exactly space oriented, the same idea of space. So, a lot of quantum physics things, a lot of anything that's like outside of the box that we don't have answers for, unsolved mysteries, anything that is the unknown. I feel that it's going to have a ton of focus on underwater discoveries as well. I think that uh, we will be learning and finding out a lot more about the depths of our oceans, um, and other realms. I would say as well. I know that sounds like whoa, but again, anytime you think of things that's like, okay, that's too much. Like, aliens, please. And I keep making this joke, and I'm only half serious. But I'm more so giving you the idea of like in 1900, you never would have thought that there was going to be an aircraft that could fly you through the air, and that in less than 200 years, everyone would have at least done it once. If not, that was a major way that we got from place to place. Um, so think that way. These transits are going to be making huge, long lasting effects in innovations and discoveries. And in 1962 to 1964, space was it. She was the T. She was the thing everyone was talking about. All of the countries and all of the scientists, everything was all about space and space travel and discoveries. Don't we have that eclipse over US in 2024? Girl, you getting ahead of me. I'm not going to talk about that today, but there is a lot of eclipse energy that is going to be really potent in a lot of things moving forward. It's just too much to talk about right now already with what I'm trying to jam pack into this live stream. So it is an interesting topic. Maybe I could do a separate eclipse forecast live stream or video. Ungracefully relatable. Hi, how are you? Slow Motion Sweet says, yes, I hope the ocean is explored a lot more. All the secrets down there. Um, I wouldn't even say that it's like gonna be a focus like secrets. It's gonna be more so uncovering knowledge that, like, it's the same thing, saying the same thing, but I would say more so focused on discovery than uncovering secrets. Same thing, but just the terminology is a lot more Aquarian when you say things like discoveries or innovations or inventions versus uncovering mysteries. But it's the same thing. uh, yes, Water Worlds. Hi, Sammy. Glad to see you live. Hello, Melanie. How are you? Um, I'm late, but I can't wait to watch the replay. Please watch the replay. If you're coming in, stay here, talk with me. I would love to interact with you while I'm going through these things, but you will want to start this over again if you're coming in halfway, because um, I feel like I really tried to set up some sort of breakdown of what we were going through. Was thinking about you saying Capricorn and Pluto until then. Wonder if eclipse timing is close to that departure. I got why you were trying to bring that up. But yeah, it's an interesting topic that I just can't go over today. So the last thing between 1962 and 1964 that kind of struck me to bring up in this live stream was zip codes launched. Did not know that. That's something that wrote down when I was looking at things, which I thought was really interesting because in 1932 to 1935 brought Social Security. And now this is again governmental structures and rules and regulations and things to kind of order. And then in 1962 to 1964, zip codes were launched or initiated. That is interesting. So I don't know why I stopped looking, and I'm very upset at myself now. But Saturn moving forward again, another transit, Saturn in Aquarius from 1991 to 1993. The only thing I put down, which is really the only thing that matters from this time period, was that the World Wide Web was public. I just want everyone to stop and think about what that fucking means and what has taken place just in 30 years. So 1991 to 1993, actually the World Wide Web was invented before, but it was publicized or made public to the masses during Saturn and Aquarius transit between 1991 and 1993. Again, think about the way in which this was like slow moving to develop, but once it really had taken place, look where we're at now. Look at everything that we're doing. Everything is online. If you would have said in 1990 that not only people would be able to communicate anywhere in the world at any time, that you would be able to do everything in your hand via a phone or a laptop or even just to communicate at that scale, people would have been like, okay, yeah, right. Um, and look at what happened. And it didn't happen right away. Think about the first cell phones. They were like huge bricks, or the people that had laptops were like far and few between, and they were normally like really wealthy. It wasn't something that everyone has. And now, not only does everyone have a cell phone and everyone has a laptop, everyone gets the new fucking update every year. Everyone has so many technological advances that allow us to communicate and to connect with each other from this one thing that happened in Saturn and Aquarius in 1991 and 1993. I'm sure that there are way more interesting facts as well that I could have brought up, like I did the other historical transits of Saturn and Aquarius. However, I felt like this one was the most big and the most impactful, and a really good example of what to expect in the next 2.5 years of Saturn going into Aquarius in the middle of December. I think with Jupiter being here, it might speed up some of the advances. Like I said, when you think about the internet becoming publicized, I think a lot of people probably heard about it, but there really wasn't much use for it on a huge global scale until much later. But with Jupiter here this time, it's going to be really, really interesting. So I always love to link and to look at when I'm talking about transits moving forward or predictive or kind of forecasty topics with astrology. I always recommend and I love going back and doing research on the historical influences of those signs or transits or aspects before in history, because it will really, really unlock and make things so much easier for you to understand with the patterns that occur. So does anybody have any questions? Is anybody good so far? Want to say anything in regards to this? Let me go back and see the comments for a second. Nelly Bird Creation says that's pretty cool to hear about the water discoveries, especially since they've got new images possibly seeing Nessie. That's interesting. Yeah, I just want to, that's just me. I'm not guaranteeing that. I would say that it's a lot more possible for us to just make huge space discoveries and a lot of things having to do with outer space travel or communication or influences, or internet regulations, online things like online bankings. I mean, we already know and can see how many. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Samantha. That is so nice of you. Um, Thank you. Thank you so much. I like that little rose emoji or whatever that was too. That was super cute. So I just can't stress enough that if there's something in our minds to where we're thinking like, oh my God, that would be crazy. What if we could like transport, or like what if we could like clone ourselves, or like what if I mean, obviously I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen in the next 2.5 years to a year, but I'm also saying that I'm not saying that it can't happen, because I want you to think about what it would have been like the years before some of these things happened in 1960. Do you think, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be crazy if we like could go to outer space? Like they've sent certain other things out there, like dogs and whatever. Like, could you believe, like, could you imagine if a human did that? And then guess what? Saturn's an Aquarius, and bitch, we were traveling, we were doing all the things. Um, again, like I said, with planes and air travel and the internet and all of that, expect the unexpected. And moving forward with this, that you can have some like tangible things to take with you is in regards to every area of your life, whether you have major Aquarius placements or you don't. Um, the next 2.5 years, and a lot of us already had a wake up call this year from March to June when Saturn went into Aquarius for our test run, what I'm calling it. Um, we are no longer able to live our lives and to structure things the way that we did before. Um, it's not supposed to stay the same. Okay, we have to change the way that our laws are governing our our bodies, our nations, our world. We have to change the way that we are structuring careers, business, our life plans, our relationships, our travel, our interactions with self, everything that is how we set up and see our lives as a goal plan for success, whatever that means to you, is going to have to change. Do and think of the next 2.5 years and moving forward as a complete 360, 180, 360 to what you were doing before. If you have been thinking about starting a business, do it. If you have a business and shit's not really kind of working, or you're feeling like maybe something's stagnant, it's because we need to completely shift and change to something else. I'm not saying change your business. I am just saying change the way that you're approaching the business, how you view the business, how you are interacting, intention setting, manifesting things within your business, with your relationships, friendships, groups, organizations, with the way that you get your knowledge, your information. You have to, and we have to collectively, and we will be forced to, whether we like to or not, think about what the pandemic did to us and the lockdown did to us. Whether we liked it or not, we were all forced to, at some level, interact with online learning, online communication, or even working from home. I know that as well. And even if your job was still going and you didn't get put on unemployment, or if you were not really affected by the pandemic, your business that you work for was in some regards. And they had to get smart and get quick and get innovative to think outside the box on how to reshift their frame of how to sell things or how to continue as a business. That is what the next 2.5 years, and really the solid next year, is going to be asking you to do. If you resist it, and here's where the themes are going to be repeating themselves from that Capricorn video that I did, that I will link down below, is that think of this as like a maybe I'll come up with a new analogy than like the tower falling and you like holding there and standing it, trying to hold it up instead of just letting it fall. Think of this as, I don't even, I can't. That's the shit about Aquarius. I can't even think of something because whatever I'm gonna say is not gonna be good enough. It's not gonna be unique enough. It's not gonna be innovative enough. You have to open up your fucking minds. You have to open up the way that you think and that you structure things. Whatever you're doing, do the opposite. Let's cheers to that, okay? I don't mean that. I don't mean that literally, okay? I'm not saying like, if you have a 9 to 5 job and you're in a happy relationship, I'm not necessarily saying like fuck it and quit and, break up with your person. Just saying that the way that we think about things and maybe our goal plans and the way that we run things needs to think bigger, think different. That's one of the things that Jupiter will bring. So let's talk a little bit about Jupiter coming into Aquarius and how this will amplify everything. So all of these Saturn placements and all these Saturn historical events and things to think of when moving forward. You guys are so cute with your emojis. Thank you. um, if you want to think about Jupiter, Jupiter will expand. Jupiter is religious, it is like spiritual, it is the big thinkers, it is um, the big picture. It really amplifies things. Think of Jupiter as your hawkeye or your bird's eye view on the entire situation of your life in whatever regards you're going to be focusing on. So let's just think of it as just a general bird's eye view on things. We might have had like an awareness or an idea of what the big picture is, but Jupiter in Capricorn was like looking at the big picture of like government, its structures and laws and all of these things, and businesses and finances and real estate and investments and stock market and the elderly and things like that, right? We're going to be getting a bird's eye view and pulling back now on the shit that no one's thought about, the shit that you can't even come up with. Like, um, we're going to have to think that the impossible is possible because whether we want to or not, the universe and the planets are going to be giving us those energies. Not to say that we still won't be focusing on all of those Capricorn things. Again, we still will have Pluto there, but it is going to be a huge, huge shift of the focus come mid-December and moving forward. I want to talk about just overall thoughts again on this conjunction with Saturn, this great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. Let's kind of talk about them both together and some of the things that can be discussed. I don't want to go into great detail about it, but I could do a whole other live stream about this beginning the first, not the first, the well, sort of the first air sign grand conjunction. So this is really, really, really going to shift the energy and elements from Earth to air. Aquarius is an air sign, even though a lot of people mistake it for water because it's the water bearer. It is an air sign, and um, everything, all of these conjunctions are going to be happening and focus on air. Think mental. Think if you're into tarot and you're here from, you don't really know astrology and maybe you're just kind of like watching this or you stumbled upon me and you know tarot, think the swords suit. We're going to be going from the pentacles to the air, to the swords. Um, and for good or for worse, for better for worse, and same thing with the pentacles when it shifted from that. This is huge. This is huge. This isn't just moving into a different sign. This is really moving into a new elemental way of thinking and progressing and innovating and all of those keywords I keep rebellion and groups and communities and organizations, all of those things. Um, so, um, we already talked a little bit about this, but I put down regulating technologies and advances in place. I get a little weird with predictive things on like a specific level because I feel like people run with that, and also I have no idea how specifically things. I have like my ideas about things. Like I said, um, general feelings of where certain things could be focused on. For something that came to my mind when I was writing down regulating technologies or advances in the place, I honestly felt like something with Google, um, something that we use so frequently and that we never think will change, or that nothing will come out different or bigger or better, or that there won't be any restrictions on it. You might see a lot of like lawsuits or a lot of regulations being put in place over things such as Google or such as where we get our information from. Think about it. It's like you don't say, I'm going to search it, you say, I'm going to Google it. However, there's Yahoo and Bing and all of these other things that no one uses. And if you do, what are you doing? You say, I'll Google it, I will search it, I will get my information from this source. And Google is a company. And so Saturn in Aquarius, it either is going to expand things like Google and companies or resources like that, or there might be a new inventive way to either get, I don't know why I just felt like maybe I could be sued for that. So allegedly, whatever that means, think of things in that way of regulating technologies, things being put in place and maybe saying, hey, you're dominating the space. And I think that there already are and have been multiple lawsuits against Google as a like monopoly. But I don't know if anything has really been solidified as anything changing. But advances in place. So a lot of different technologies. Again, you might hear of things inventing and you going like, oh my God, that's crazy. Wow, they just invented this. Well, who says it's even going to happen? Give it a couple years and it might take off like the internet, like aircraft. So just be aware of if you're hearing anything in the news or the media about new inventions or new things coming to be. Yeah. So I just want to say for anyone who just joined or is joining, we're talking about the Great Conjunction and the energies of Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius in mid December and moving forward. We talked about the history of Saturn and Aquarius over the last few transits it's been in. We talked about the test run that we had from March to June. We talked about just Aquarius in general. So if you missed it, I do highly recommend you watching the first part of this. But we're going to keep going on. We're talking about Saturn and Jupiter conjunct and some of the things that it can bring. New religions. Focus on rising undervalued belief. If you thought that astrology and tarot and the occult or paganism or any of these like underdog valued resources, learning information has kind of gained popularity a lot recently, you can best believe that it will be surging to the top. We're really falling away from the traditional ways in which we have our belief systems. And it's not that it hasn't already happened, it's just going to be shifting our consciousness. I think a lot more people will be learning and finding out about things that previously might have been seen as like too woo woo. We're not going to want to say woo woo anymore. It will be a way of thinking for more generalized consciousness, or a new religion or a new way of doing something could be coming to play in the next 2.5 years, especially in the next year. Why I keep saying especially in the next year is because Jupiter stays in a sign for 1 year. So while Saturn will be in Aquarius for 2.5 years, Jupiter will be in Aquarius for just a year. It will just be in here for 2021 and then it will move forward into Pisces. So, may I say, off topic, in 7 minutes, my husband has a job interview. Oh, shoot. Fingers crossed. I hope that he gets it if he wants it. And that's awesome. Good luck. Is it on Zoom, Melanie? Is the interview taking place online or is it in person? It's Zoom. Cool. Love that. Thank you so much for validating some of the things that I'm saying. Is he wearing sweatpants and a business top on top? You all can expect more of this. Interviews being taken even after lockdown or even after the pandemic and things become easier to deal with. Let's just politically, or let's just say it like that. Because we really don't need to be getting into the pandemic in this live stream. That would have been a great Capricorn live stream to talk about before if I had the balls to do it. I was just a little too fragile and insecure to do it then. So I was trying to feed it into things like the podcast or in vlogs and things like that. Again, for anyone who came in late, I'll link 2 major videos that I talked about Capricorn transits down below once this is published. Unique business styles continued. We already talked about this, and I love that Melanie segued and kind of intuited that I was headed this way. We already talked about this. I really want to reach out and look in the eyes through the screen at some of the people who, or anyone that has a career, that has a job, that has a business, that is running a business, or that wants to start a business, or that is starting a business in the next 2.5 years. It is not going to be good enough for you to think about work and finances in the way that we have thought about them before. It is not going to be enough for you to stay the same. And that's not a threat. That's not fearing you. That is giving you the magic and the tools to think bigger, think outside the box, and reach the masses with your potential success, your inevitable success in whatever you're doing by getting unique, different, shocking, and against the grain. Whatever you're thinking is good enough, up the ante and flip the switch. You have to. There will be so many more job interviews. There will be so many more opportunities to work remote, to work while traveling. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I don't know where that came from. Maybe spirit, because nothing is going on with me. Um, because I did just feel. Did you see me like touch my arm? I thought maybe there was like a little gnat or a bug on it. Anyways, whenever I get charged up or talk or do live streams, there's always like spirit that interacts. Um, so many. I work from home now. Um, I work remote. All our business meetings, all of our client meetings, all of our exhibitions have been online. Never would I have guessed that our glass art gallery would be selling things online and interacting with clients weekly and artists weekly all over the world via Zoom, via the internet, via the comfort of my home. One of the things that I'll wrap in here is like the concept of like tiny homes, but more so like traveling life. Jupiter brings long distance travels, it brings freedom, and a lot of the idea and the popularity behind tiny homes or tiny living or traveling, like living in a van, like all of those videos that have been really popular on YouTube and just like the um, attention that that's been getting, I will tell you will be a lot more public and a lot more expanded this year because the idea of unique freedom and travel and being able to structure our lives and make money and have careers while expanding and going and being free will be amplified this year. So there will be even more growth and opportunity for people to work on the road, work remote, or have a business and a career that allows more unique freedoms than ever before. So if you're thinking about buying a house in the next 2.5 years, which my partner and I are, um, really, I wouldn't say don't do it, but I would say really think about what it is that you want and really how you're going to go about getting it. Again, any of the stuff that's going to be happening in the next 2.5 years, especially in the next year, um, you'll have to think unique on. But if there's like an opportunity for you to, if not travel, then to have a unique sense of freedom within your jobs or your business or the way, like if you own your business, um, you might want to go through a rebranding. You might want to be going through a new way of communicating. If you've only done like in-person tarot readings and you're structuring your business on that, or if you've only done like recorded video readings, it might be time to do um, group classes or things of that nature. If you have a business selling jewelry on Etsy, it might be time to start doing live streams of you building your jewelry for you to gain more popularity. So I'm not saying completely change your business. I'm saying change the way that you approach your job, your career, and the way that you're putting it out because you're gonna have to. It's gonna be dog eat dog, and if somebody else is thinking outside the box before you, you're gonna miss your opportunity. Um, Freedom in unique ways, all of that. Okay, we already talked about it. Does anybody have? I'm gonna say like I'm pretty much through most of my basic notes. Again, there is so many things that I could talk about with history or what this could entail or things to look out for. I could go sign by sign, but I just wanted to make this digestible for a lot of people, especially because I have a lot of people on my channel that are new to astrology and that are wanting to learn. So I tried to have this not dumbed down for people, but also giving you as much like this was like an astrology lecture, okay? This was like a little mini class, like a little free mini lecture that you guys had here, guys, gals, and in-betweens, on Aquarius energy, where we've been at. I didn't go too much into the Capricorn that we've been in, but again, I'll link those videos. And I've been talking all year, so a lot of you like are just like so sick of it. But we have a huge shift. I will say, and I don't want to stay on this for too long, but there is a huge other component that is going to be kind of influencing how this energy is going to be coming about, and that's Mars. It's an inner planet, so a lot of times we don't talk as much about the inner planets and things. However, I talked in the podcast a few times about this. When we had our test run of Saturn and Aquarius, Mars was in Pisces. And Mars in Pisces is artistic. It is like dreamy. It is naive. It is like wanting to be about like consciousness and emotions and all of these things. And when we had the lockdown and when we had these Saturn and Aquarius things, the Mars energy of how we're going, we're doing our gas pedal, what's motivating us, what's interesting us, um, was very much in the sense or energy of like, woe is me. What am I gonna do? I lost my job and everything is falling apart and I have to be locked down and I can't be away from my family and they're gonna make me wear a mask and like that Mars in Pisces. And I'm not dragging because my natal Mars is in Pisces, okay? I have it tattooed on my arm. I get it. It's one of the reasons why I went to school for art, why I'm so charged magically by color and things like that. But the energy of Mars and Pisces is totally different than Mars in its true sign of Aries, which it's in now. So we went from people saying, like, oh, God, I have to wear a mask. It's so uncomfortable. This is so hard. I never thought this was going to be, I'm so depressed. You know, sorry, just saying. To you can't fucking make me wear a mask. You can't tell me what to do. You can't do this or that. It is so much more of an aggressive, it is so much more of an angry, and fighting for what you want, right? So to have Saturn and Aquarius before and having all of those changes and movements and energetic like pushes that we had with Black Lives Matter movement and anything that we had going on in that little test run, we had Mars in Pisces. So we have Mars in Aries now. And I didn't write down when it comes out of Mars in Aries, but I will tell you that it is like, it's like, okay, so Mars in Pisces is like sitting in a car that is filling up with water. Like you'll survive, but you're not really going anywhere, but you're really thinking and you're experiencing what it's like. You're probably crying. You're probably saying like, why is this happening to me? And Mars in Aries is like sitting in a car that's on fire and you have both feet pedal to the metal to the floor and you're blindfolded. So for better or for worse, we're really moving forward. We have a lot of motivated energy in regards with Mars here as well. And I don't want to put any fear in anybody, so I just want to be clear and I don't want to stay on that for too long because that's not technically what this live stream is about. But I will tell you that there is also this other influence that can't get out of my mind in regards to Mars in Pisces and now it's in Aries. So when these planets move into Aquarius, we have a lot of a different shift when it comes to that planet. So that I think is everything. If you liked this, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me. If you all have any questions or anything else that you would like me to be covering in astrological live streams or videos, let me know. I really would like to do one separate for those of you who are going to be going through your first, second, or if you're so lucky to be going through your Saturn return this year. So if you have a natal Saturn in Aquarius, it's your turn. I just did mine and I can help you through it. So it is nothing to fear, but it is something to get serious and to really be understanding about. If you would like to work with me, you can do so by going to samanthamenzo.com and purchasing a card reading or a natal chart session from me. I will try to put some more available right now. However, they sell out really, really quickly. So thank you so much again for the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Samantha. I really, really appreciate it. And anybody else, if you're watching the playback of this and you're not able to do a super chat, there is, I think, the applause button or the applaud button, and you can donate $2 to my video. I don't know how many people can see it because I talked about it before, and some people say that they can't see it. It should be right next to the like and the dislike button. It says applaud, and you can contribute $2. So if you're not in the super chat right now and you want to contribute to this video, if you enjoyed it, or my channel, you enjoy it, you can do that. If not, you can just subscribe. You can share my video, and that really helps me as well. Thank you all so, so much. Yes, please, would love to work with you. Head over to my website, samanthamenzo.com. It should be in the description. Um, as well as that. And as well, please go and follow me on Instagram. I will be doing a lot more posts and live streams on Instagram that I feel like aren't as big to put on YouTube. So it's at Cloud9 Studios if you want to follow me if you're not already on Instagram. Oh my goodness, this is what I've been working on, changing things up. Annette, thank you so much for joining, and I'm so glad because you won't have a choice whether you were focusing it on now, because you have to moving forward. Think and expect the unexpected, everyone. And I hope that you have a beautiful, wonderful, magical Yule. Buckle up, bitches, because we're getting some Aquarian energy. And I really want to end this live stream, but I will just remind people that these transits are taking place in between the election and the inauguration. And that has not gone unnoticed for me. I have many voice notes rambles in my phone about what I feel like that is going to bring up. Again, no fear, no nothing, but if you're in the United States, there will be some unique things that will be coming to play because this shift is happening in between the election and the inauguration. Again, no conspiracy theories, no fear, no nothing. Just take that for food for thought and research it and think about it for yourself and what that could mean, if anything. So I love you all. Thank you for the super chat, Samantha, and anyone else that is contributing and that will be purchasing a reading. I hope that you enjoyed this and have a beautiful, wonderful, magical day. Bye.